Hey guys, I'm Evan. This is Safety Optional. Today I'm working on my Jeep again. When I took this thing off-roading, somehow I popped a hole in the fuel tank or something because it's leaking gas, so I've got to pull the fuel tank again. If you go back and look at some of my other videos, you'll see where I have been working on this thing for a while. RC Gusto and I worked on it, finally got it running after having not run for several years, and basically redid the entire fuel system on this thing. And in the process, I pulled the tank, cleaned it out, put a whole bunch of new stuff on it, and then I took it off-roading. And in the course of off-roading, somehow I managed to create a fuel leak. It was coming out of these little holes here in this plastic cover on the fuel tank. So I have no idea where it's coming from, but I need to figure it out and see if I can fix the fuel tank or if it's something worse. Here's the first one I got to take off. 14 millimeter. Now one thing I'll add is I have drained the fuel tank, or rather it drained itself. See right here the little clips that hold that plastic guard on there. I'll leave that one on for right now. I'm going to go ahead and take off this protective cover and see if I can see what damage has been done to the tank. Alright, so it's hanging by the fill hose now. And a moment of truth. Aha! There it is. Right there. It looks like there's a dent. Yep. Right there, but that is a broken weld. But the good news here is that I could probably fix with some of the JB Weld gas tank goo that you can buy at the parts store. Let me go get a rag and clean that off. This other rust on here, it's really just cosmetic, so I'm not going to worry about it. Look here. Yeah, gas being a solvent means that it gives you a really good clean surface here. I'll check the other welds too. If you go back and look at my other video where I pulled the fuel tank and looked inside of it, you can see a pretty good shot of the inside of this fuel tank, and it was clean as a whistle and beautiful looking inside. But you could also see the baffle that's in it. That's what these spot welds are for, is for that baffle. So what I need to do is get the tank completely dry and get some of that fuel tank repair stuff, try it out and see how well it works. I don't think any of these other welds are compromised by that dent there. Okay, so I'm back. Went to the store and I picked up some of this JB Weld, and it clearly says on here that it is great for fuel tanks. So we'll see if this stuff works. Being the redneck that I am, I'm already very familiar with the JB Weld line of products, but this is a little bit unfamiliar to me. So I am going to look at the instructions, which basically say cut, remove required amount of putty, mix thoroughly, kneading the putty with fingers to a uniform color, and press the putty firmly to the surface to be repaired. Now before I put anything on here, I'm observing that there is a tiniest bit of gasoline that is seeping out just ever so slightly there. I want to get it completely clean. The surface around is completely clean. It looks like I've been able to get any sort of residue off of that. So now we'll just cut up the putty, knead it up, and stick it on there. It's kind of like gray modeling clay, not to be confused with yellow modeling clay, the secret ingredient to eggs erroneous. So I'm going to cut off a little chunk like so. And One thing I'll do here on the close-up camera, you can see that it is two color. The outside's gray and the inside's black, just like the traditional stuff that comes in a tube. So I'm going to mash it up here, knead it all together in my fingers. Alright, well, I've got pretty uniform in appearance now. Here, it's kind of all gray, and I'm just going to smush it up there. I'm going to give that one last wipe just to make sure there's no gasoline residue, and then I'm just going to smash it on there. And the beauty of this product over the traditional JB Weld is that this stuff won't sag like the liquid. Now it's going to be important to resist the temptation to go ahead and put the shield back on here, the plastic guard back on, because I need to let this dry. I don't want it to stick to the plastic and then get pulled off somehow. So I want this to fully dry and cure before we put the cover back on. One thing you'll note about the instructions, it says it sets in 3 to 5 minutes, and after 60 minutes it can be drilled, tapped, machined, ground, filed, and painted. So I'm just going to wait an hour before I put the shield back on. I need to go wash my hands. Now I really just need to wait for this patch to set up and get firm, and then we can put the shield back on and be done. I'm going to still wait a few days before I put fuel back into the tank. I don't want to risk damaging it in any way, so we'll give it a little bit of time. I can tell it's already set up though. Hear that? So it's already gotten hard there. So I could probably go ahead and put the shield on it, but I'm going to wait a little bit longer before I do that. While I'm waiting for that to set up, I want to take this opportunity to thank you all for watching my videos. I know my channel is kind of eclectic and sporadic, and I haven't really kind of found my niche yet, but I really appreciate you guys watching, and it's just all about having fun and kind of documenting some goofy stuff. I'm not going to ask you guys to like, comment, or subscribe. I know I've done that in the past, but that's kind of silly. I'm not in it for any of that. I'm really just in it to have a good time. But I've got some cool stuff in store. If you watched my very first video way back when, I own a bucket truck that's kind of been hit and miss with how well it's worked, but I'm getting that work fixed right now, and we're going to be doing some fun stuff with it. And I picked up a drone for Christmas, even though Christmas hadn't happened yet. So I'm going to be doing some fun stuff with that. I've got more stuff planned for both of those with RC Gusto coming up. So things may get kind of sporadic for the next couple of weeks to months, but I've got cool stuff coming. Stay tuned. Okay, now that that's set up, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to start putting the shield back on it. Now, one thing I want to point out is this is not a skid plate in any way. This is just a flimsy piece of plastic, really just to protect us from scratches and road debris and things like that. As evidenced by the fact that we're having to do this repair in the first place, it offers zero protection from getting banged up. Now, one thing that I may consider in the future is building a skid plate here to protect this. It is pretty obvious that I need some sort of protection there with the type of off-roading that I do. Ooh, I just noticed this. You can tell that it wasn't just any old cupcake wheeling because there's rock. You can tell where I've drug this thing on a rock. That's the kind of chalky limestone that we have over there where we went off-roading. Alright. Alright, let's try that again. The last thing to do is put these little clips back on that hold this plastic cover onto the fuel tank. Just like that, we're done. All back together, ready to go.